Jill Vandor from LunchDates.com. Hello.
Hello, how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. We're going to get into your story of being the ultimate matchmaker, especially in a weird day and age where everyone is doing looking at online menus. I like to call them menus of people going, no, not my type, even though I'm just looking at a picture, not my type, not my type. Oh, that's my type, you know. But before that, I like to loosen people up with some questions. So what's something that you wish that you were better at right now?
I wish I was better at right now.
Yes.
In my career or just my life?
Just something you wish you were better at. You pick.
Juggling.
Juggling. All right.
I just started juggling and I'm very bad. But
Did you really?
I swear. I do obstacle course racing and ninja, and I wish I was better at that. But then I picked up juggling along the way.
What races have you done?
I've done everything from Spartan to Fit Challenge to Tough Mudders to actually next weekend I'm doing Savage Race.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So which is the one that is it the Tough Mudder? Which is the one that they have like the short ones and they have like the big long extended crazy ones?
Oh, the Spartan is the real one.
Spartan, yes.
There's the Sprint, the Super, and the Beast, and the Beast, if you do it in Killington, is like no joke. And I did it and kind of, no more Spartans for me, but I'll do the other stuff.
Is that how you knew? So we have a mutual friend, Rob O'Brien.
I knew Rob, well, he's far more athletic than I, let's be clear. But I knew him back when I was in high school. Oh,
okay. Because I know he's big with he was, and now his new thing is like just straight up weightlifting. But for a while, he was big into like the Tough Mudders, and he did the, I think it was like one of those long Spartans. He did it with his wife, and he said that's the closest they ever came to getting divorced.
Said you can make it through that, you can make it through anything, for sure.
Absolutely. All right, so favorite quote?
My favorite quote is, no good deed goes unpunished.
Okay.
Unfortunately, but I joke that it's going to go on my tombstone someday because I'm always trying to do something good, and then when I want to poke my eye out afterwards for trying so hard.
Yeah.
But usually it really works out. I'm just being more wise and facetious on it.
Just inherently by your job, you're always trying to do something good.
Yeah. Actually, really, my all-time favorite quote is on my desk. It used to be in our wall in the office, is, someday someone will walk into your life and make you realize why it didn't work out with anyone else.
Ooh.
And that is why I do what I do. It's the truth.
That's good.
Yeah.
One more. If you could time travel, forward or backwards, which way are you going? And if it's backwards, you got to give me a specific event or a specific time.
So much pressure. I mean, I think
the rest of the interview after this is going to be easy.
This is too much. I mean, I'd love to go back in time and, get to see, my mom and mother-in-law again because they passed away. So that would be wonderful. I'd love to go forward and see my children in life, what, is in store for them so that I can medal now to make sure that it can be great for even better than we can imagine.
So you could fix it in case you see something wrong. Do you do the matchmaking with your kids too?
Not yet, but will. Don't you worry. They don't want to talk about dating with me whatsoever because they're teenagers. So, but eventually, I will definitely set them up.
But can you sense, like, if they bring a potential boyfriend or girlfriend around, can you sense and go, "Oh, this is not going to work out"?
Well, they haven't really started dating so much, but their friends have, and so we're trying. Their friends will talk to us about dating far more than they would want to talk to us about dating. Yeah. And so there's some things that some of their friends are doing not so great that we're trying to have an intervention on.
Right.
It's good.
All right. So LunchDates, it's a matchmaking service. And I doubt that when you were a little girl, this is what you saw yourself doing. So, like, how did we get to you being the premier matchmaker in Boston?
I would say, the way I became, I kind of say I'm the premier matchmaker, the go-to matchmaker in Boston, because growing up, I was always the type of kid that, I would always meddle and intervene, and, I was always bringing people together. I was an organizer. I couldn't help it. I was in everybody's business. It's just my nature. And so what ended up happening was I'd fix people up, and I never thought this would be a career by any means, but I was in hospitality, and I loved people. And then I got into fitness and weight loss for a while and help people better themselves so they felt great about themselves. And so it just seemed to be a natural progression to end up becoming a matchmaker. But it was supposed to just be a quick flash in the pan job. And here I am over 20 years later, still making love happen for people.
At what point did you say to yourself, okay, I can sustain my family, all that stuff, doing specifically matchmaking? Because that's such I would say niche, but I mean, I think niche is still making it broad. It is super, super unique.
It's definitely unique. It's definitely great for conversation at parties, for sure. I would say, pretty early on, I figured out that this really was my passion, and what I was meant to do is to bring people together. And so what ended up happening is that, now it was a full-time job, but it was just kind of, supposed to be passed pretty soon after. This is what I was meant to do, and continued on with it from there.
And when online dating, because you said you've been doing it for over 20 years, so online dating.
There was no online dating back in the day, I will tell you that.
So,
not that I could be old enough to know this, but there really wasn't.
No, I mean, so when that started, were you like, it's time to find something else to do, or were you still getting good?
No, because the thing is this, it's all been a natural progression. So when I started doing it, I actually started doing it in Los Angeles, and and then I ended up coming back to the East Coast. But the whole thing is that the internet was just taking off, and people came to matchmakers, and there was video dating, and there was different types of dating services per se. But when I would fix people up and get them into relationships, and they might invite me to their wedding or something, they didn't want people to know that I introduced them, right? It was just very much like a secret squirrel thing, secret society. So I'd be at a wedding, and they'd say, do you know the bride or the groom? And how did you meet? Oh, we met in line at the bank. I mean, now nobody even goes to the bank, right? So it ended up being that the internet made it more mainstream, so it was good. What happened is that people were like, oh, okay, we're meeting online, there's these profiles and stuff, so they kind of understood a little bit more what I did. And then from there, we'll kind of jump into it, but apps are great, don't misunderstand, and people meet on apps every day, and I tell everybody, do every single solitary thing until you meet that right person. However, people get dating fatigue, they get ghosted, they get breadcrumb, they get catfish, they get dogfish, you name it out there, it's happened to them. So this is it all ends up being a stepping stone that all comes right back to me in the end. So by the time I'm talking to people, most people have tried some sort of avenue, event, something to meet somebody and realized, okay, this gets to be a better way.
Well, with the dating apps, and I know a bunch of people, by the way, who've they are in long-term relationships, and some people even got married, but I look at it as it's almost like a menu, but at like the Cheesecake Factory. So okay, when I got divorced, I had tons of people suggesting to me, you got to do online dating. You got to do online dating. And I said, no. Why? Just try it. And I'll tell you exactly why. Because what if I go on that first date and it is the most amazing date ever? First date, knocks it out of the park. My mentality is going to be, oh, it's just going to go up from here. And now I could throw away who this girl that could have been the most perfect person, looking for something else, and it's all downhill from there. Or the way I am with my thinking is, if I meet someone and I'm looking at her and she, from online dating, and wow, she hits it out of the park with this. She checks this box, this box, this box. I'm just inherently going to be like, well, why are you single? There's something, and I would be nitpicking for the yes, exactly. Yes. So that's why it wasn't for me. So I had friends still, just try it. So I didn't join or anything, but one day I went on I forget what it was. It was one of the sites, and they did that's another thing too. It was one of the sites that you pay for, because I look at it like levels. I'm like, listen, if everyone's going for free, that to me is just like, hey, we're going to have sex, and if it works out, we're just going to find activities to do between having sex. But it's not like a serious relationship thing. I think, and I could be wrong, but I think if you're paying that there's still going to be the outliers who are weirdos and stuff, but I think there's a better chance of people looking for relationships and stuff if they're willing to financially part way with money. But so I'm looking through this site, and they did you could do like a free sample of swipes. Mm-hmm. So I'm swiping, and all of a sudden I swiped and I see a female friend of mine in a group of girls. She wasn't the one in it, but she was in the group of girls, and the one in it for the site was one of her friends who I met before, who was a psychopath. Like this, I met her. You know how sometimes I give everyone a chance, but sometimes you meet somebody and within 30 seconds you're like, this person's crazy.
Oh yeah.
I don't like this person. She was like that. But reading her profile, I'm an independent girl looking for. I'm reading the profile and I'm like, this is literally the opposite of everything this girl was when I met her. And that's when I said, that's my sign.
Yep.
That's my sign right there. Online dating's not for me.
Well, the thing is this, there are great people online. It's a full-time job, because you don't know, and you can get sold really quickly. I mean, they have, probably from the time back in the day that you were looking to now, I mean, there's filters on every picture. There's these crazy
Oh,
selfies.
yeah, it's even worse.
But there are good people. But yes, I tell people, you got to take it with a grain of salt, because first of all, that's as good as that person's ever going to look in that picture for sure. But exactly to your point, it's that people go out and they think like, oh, well, if this was good, this got to be better. Or she's good. What's wrong with her? Why is she doing this? It's just the mentality. So the difference is, part of it is that I'm involved in the process. So when you have that middle person too, you have somebody to talk to about the person to find out the truth about them. They're vetted. You know everything about them first, so you can find out. Why is this person really still single? Because they are really selective and choosy, or because of the fact that they are psycho. You got to have an independent person that knows what's really going on with the person.
And chances are somebody coming to you is, again, everyone slides through. There are weirdos. There's outliers, but I doubt you're going to get a married guy pretending to be single. We
check and verify everything on everybody anyways. Everybody's completely vetted before anybody meets one another. So the safety is completely different than an app. I'm always amazed too, because, I have friends who've done the apps and everything else, and they'll call me up and say, I'm dating this guy. We're going on a, second or third date or whatever, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, want me to check him out for you so I can, on a background, I can do this, I can figure out about him. And they're like, I'm like, so what's his name? Michael. Well, what's his last name? I don't know. I'm like, you've been out with this guy like 3 times and you don't know his last name? They feel weird to ask the last name or something. Yeah. I'm like, listen, there's safety involved too. You should know the person's last name.
Right.
I'm not asking for his bank account. I'm just asking for his first and last name so we know who you're out with for safety.
Jill, that mic moved. You want to just bring it a little closer to you?
Sure.
So how so you literally how do you check their backgrounds?
Just run a background check on.
Oh, just like you could do an online background check. Oh, okay. I thought you had someone following them around.
Oh no. I'm a little crazy. I'm not quite the stalker of that girl or anything like that. But no. We just run a background on them.
So how does it work? Like, do you? Let's pretend I'm looking for a date, and I come to you.
Okay.
And
so
do you interview me?
Yes.
Okay, let's do it.
The first thing is that we would do a complete interview where I would find out all about you. Your past relationships, what's worked, what hasn't, what you're attracted to, what you're looking for. Find out, what it is that's important to you, your goals, your values, your beliefs, things of that nature. And then we peel it all the way back, and we really, I get to know you really well. And then from there, I start to come up with ideas of who I think would be a good match for you. And then I bring you into my match. There's a group of us, and we all match together. And so then we discuss it, much like high school.
So I do an interview with you.
Yes.
And then the second phase is getting judged by a bunch of people.
You're not a part of this judging. I'm going to judge you without you.
Yeah.
No. It's not that. It's that I'm going to, whenever I'm talking to somebody, it's my intuition. I'm always thinking of people like, oh, this person would be really great with this person.
Right.
But so what I want to do is take a step back and look and see, okay, just because they're both really attractive people, that's great. But are their goals the same? Are their values the same? There's so many different facets. I kind of compare it to, if you were buying a house, you have your wants and your needs.
Mm-hmm.
And, we'd all like to have giant closets, or if we want to have the laundry room on the second floor, whatever it is that people want. So I figure out what things are most important to you, and I'm going to match you up with somebody who not only do I think is going to like you, but you're going to like them.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to do me any good to have one person all excited on the date and the other person like, why am I here, too. So then from there, I do everything. We set up the time, the date, the place. Literally all you have to do is get dressed and show up and have a wonderful time.
Yeah.
And then I like my report card the next day. Give me a call the next day and let me know what you thought. Good, bad, and different. Usually, more times than not, people are like, I can't believe how great that person was, or I can't believe how attractive he was, or how beautiful she was. I'm like, you have to think, if you're coming to me, that's who's on the flip side too. But until people are actually in it, doing it, meeting the people, and realizing these are real people looking for real relationships, then all of a sudden they get it and realize, oh, wow, she really knows what she's doing.
And I'm assuming these are like all kind of professionals.
Yeah, typically my clientele is more upscale, busy professionals, everything from, lawyers and doctors, bankers, finance. But, we work with teachers, nurses. It's out there, I tell people there's a lid for every pot.
Yeah. So if I come to you, let's pretend.
Okay.
Give me the interview. Hi, I'm looking to,
But it's so long of an interview. So basically,
okay.
I start with
There's no time limit here.
Well, I'll get to the good stuff.
Yeah.
Because I would ask you, where you live, you're past, divorced, if you're,
Yes.
yes. How long have you been divorced?
Well, I'm currently married, but let's pretend if I let's pretend I did it like right after I got divorced.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I was married for 10 years. I got divorced a year ago, and I tried just meeting people, but people are weird now because all they do is date online. So when you see them in person, they don't know how to talk to each other.
Right.
And so that didn't work out. I'm not really a going out to bars and clubs guy. And I don't really want to do online dating because all those reasons I gave you earlier.
And first of all, you definitely sound like my clientele, and the fact that, you're just looking for an easier, more dignified way to meet somebody. So I want to find out what happened in your divorce. First of all, you might just be newly divorced, but were you separated? For how long were you separated? What caused it? Did you guys go through counseling? Did you not? Did you, do you feel emotionally you're ready to meet someone new? Things of that nature.
All right. So, I'm a workaholic. And, I thought I was providing everything growing up, I thought it was to sustain a marriage as long as you provided and didn't cheat and didn't have any weird vices like gambling or drinking, anything like that. You were good. And that's what I was doing. And then, one day my wife came to me and said, you need to be there more for myself and for our kids. So I heard that as you need to be there more for our kids. This is all true, by the way. And so I became like super dad from there on in. And then one day she came to me and she was like, this is, you're basically like, you're not paying any attention to the relationship. I'd like to separate. And we separated for like a month and then we decided to get divorced. And my personal philosophy was, because a lot of people were like, well, why didn't you try and make it work out or whatever? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Because once I heard I want to get divorced, I'm like, okay, so you have made the decision. I don't think I can really do anything at this point to get you back, because it's all going to seem like I'm just trying to do something to get you back when I should have been doing that the whole time. Does that make sense?
It completely makes sense.
Yeah. So, and it also made our divorce very amicable.
That's what I was just going to say. Yeah.
Super amicable. Like, people for a while, everyone thought we were going to get back together because they were like, well, what's going on? Why are you guys, you didn't go to a divorce. Actually, here's a funny story. So we were like, okay, well, we got to figure out what we're going to do here. And I said to her, find somebody to help us figure out how to navigate this. So she called a divorce lawyer and she told me the story. She said the divorce lawyer got her on the phone and she said, all right, well, what do you want from him? And she goes, what do you mean? No, I just want someone to help us figure this out. And so we both went to meet with the divorce lawyer, who shook my hand. And she said, I just got to let you know that I've never done a divorce like this. So this is going to be a first for all of us, because she was used to being, contentious divorces. So when we went to the court and everything, she was counseling me on what to say before we went to the court. She goes, I'm going to be on her side, but just say this, and we'll be all set. So anyways, very amicable is what I'm trying to say.
Very healthy and moving to a new relationship, because so you're remarried now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
no. Yeah, I mean, yes, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. But I would say this.
I'm breaking the fourth wall.
So I do relationship coaching as well. And so the whole thing is in order to move on and be in a healthy relationship thereafter, divorce, breakup, things of that nature, you have to be able to learn from your relationships, the things that worked and made it successful and not successful. And it sounds to me like you were somebody that was able to reflect and realize, okay, so I took her feedback and I was great with the kids, but I still never gave her. So now I guarantee, or I would say in the utmost confidence, that you're probably far more attentive this time around than you were the last time. It didn't have to do with her. It just had to do with
it was me. It was, I actually went to, I think the opposite of what most people do, where most people start deflecting and playing hot potato and blaming the other person. And I was like, what the hell did I do wrong? Hold on a second. Because like I said, I thought I was doing what you were supposed to do. And I went to therapy and all that stuff. And now with my wife breaking the fourth wall again. Now with my wife she's super, she loves to talk everything out and all that stuff. And and she's also very, what's the word I'm looking for?
Communicative?
Super communicative, but very doing, how people most of the time, it's like they do special things for holidays, birthdays, anniversaries. She's like, we should be doing stuff like that just on the regular, not saving it for things like that. Yeah, so I would say, I don't know if I'm even quite at the level that she would want me at, but I am. If I was probably starting here, I'm like here. So different. Yeah. So, but this is single me talking to you right now.
Okay, so as single you, though, I would talk about the fact of, why everything happened, and you hadn't moved on yet.
Yeah,
So now we're going to get you to, to the
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, Jill, I'm just looking for somebody to love me. I'm a good guy.
And I'd say, I'm sure you are, but and so then, we would peel that all back, and then, I want to find out about it, your kids, if you have children, if you want more children, if you are, as far as religious, racial preferences,
all that stuff.
All that stuff. And
that must change, though, because I think people go through stages where they're like, right now, I want this. And then a year or two later, they're like, I'm willing to do this.
Well, interviews are clearly different based on how old somebody is and where they're at in their life.
Yeah.
So, if I'm talking to somebody and they're in their 20s or 30s and they haven't been married before, their goals and, and what they're looking for is going to be different than somebody who's in their, 40s or 50s, who might have been married before if they're 50s or 60s, and they might have been a widow now. So everybody's at different places in life. So something that's super important today may not be as important tomorrow.
Right.
Also, where people have their preferences, right now I don't want to get all into politics, but we're at a,
that must suck.
Well, it's an interesting, because we talked about where we said, I started doing this when there wasn't much of an internet happening so much, and then I started doing this, and Arnold Schwarzenegger and Maria Shriver were married, you know. So I could easily say to people, of course, Democrats, Republicans can make it work. Look, they make it work. Well, I can't use that anymore.
Right.
But at the end, and people are far more the world's far more polarized now. So it's not as easy, to put two people together if they share different political beliefs. It's pretty difficult. So that's something that we'll get into to find out, what's really important, and is it the facets of, what's going on in the world and things of that nature.
I feel like people get in their own way a lot of times with stuff like this because they get very let's go with the politics. They get very concrete in their beliefs.
Well, it's with politics, it's with everything too. The whole thing is this: people definitely stand in their own way because of the fact that, people think they know exactly what they want, and the more they think they know exactly what they want, the more they pigeonhole themselves. The more I tell people, the more flexible somebody is, the more open-minded somebody is, the more opportunity that's going to give them, not to go on a million dates or anything, but to find that right person and let them in. Because, if you're looking for what's wrong with somebody rather than what's right with somebody, then you're going to have a very difficult time finding that relationship.
That's a good way to put it. I think a lot of people look for what's wrong with the other person. And I'm also of the belief that, like, obviously you have to have things in common, obviously. But do you want to date your exact self? I think people think they do, but they really don't. You almost want someone to, like, I picture like a puzzle, and it's like they're filling in certain pieces of the puzzle to complete the whole thing.
Perfectly said.
Yeah, because otherwise it's like the same pieces. You're like, these pieces aren't sticking together.
People think a lot of times they do want that, if somebody's outgoing, they want outgoing. But the whole thing is this, is that you can't look for somebody to, quote, complete you. You need somebody to complement you.
Complement, yeah.
So that you're both bringing something to the table. And then that way, as you're saying, the puzzle pieces will all come together.
Yeah, and you also need to you almost need to be, this is what I think, be comfortable, because I have a lot of friends who they're like, I'm just looking for the right person. And they're just relationship hopping almost. And I always say to them, hey, listen, this sounds super cliche and corny, but you need to get to know yourself first. And by that, I mean, instead of like layering your relationships, like dating this guy until I find this guy that's better. And then he leaves me, but I got to jump into another one or whatever. Instead of doing that, you should get time to know yourself and be comfortable with yourself. Yeah. So eventually when somebody comes along, it's like they're adding to.
You got to love yourself first.
Yes. And I don't think a lot of people are like, oh, it's almost like if I get that job, once I get this, then I'll be good. And it's like, no, you won't. Once I'm making this much money, I'll be good. No, you won't. No,
you have to love yourself, and then, you'll be able to love somebody else, without a doubt.
So how do you explain that if somebody comes to you and they have that mentality?
Well, I think it's about creating expectations with people so that, this is why we do the interview, so that I can really get to know somebody to find out what makes them tick. And, obviously if I ask somebody, what are you looking for? You can say, somebody beautiful and blah, blah, blah. But it's really not just on that physical front. It's more who that person is. And sometimes people have their, deal breakers and things. And so I have to find out how flexible they really are, or how stringent they really are, so that, I can set them up for success. Because, just because somebody is super wealthy or super tall or whatever it is, it doesn't make a difference. If that person's not going to click with you at the end of the day, you have to have, I tell people, you're going to have everything right, and then heaven and moon and the stars all have to be in alignment too. So, there's a lot that goes into getting into a healthy relationship. So,
what's the most random deal breaker that somebody's come to you with?
Random, like unique deal breaker?
Yeah, like something that was like, really? You're gonna, because what?
I mean, I've had people who wouldn't meet people just because of, over a few inches. You could take with it what you like.
Damn.
But in general, most people, they just, or some people get caught up in an age.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, I'm just saying somebody might be a year or two off of something, and
wow.
They don't, but most people, what happens is this, is that I'm asking for people's wish list and their deal breakers list, and I tell people, I want to know everything that you're looking for, because knowledge is power. But so if I can get, 7 out of the 10 things, then I'm going to hit a home run on it. Nobody's going to get 10 out of 10. It's just, that'd be, and even if you did, then chances are you're not going to like each other, because exactly what you said, you're too much alike or something. But at the end of the day, it's, making sure that, so where I was going, lost my train of thought there for a sec, but is that usually what happens is that, well, I'm getting to know them, they're getting to know me too. And so I'll tell people, in the beginning, the feedback's really important so that you can see that I get, after you go on the date, I want to make sure that I'm on the right track. And my clients come to me, they don't want quantity dating. It's not like the apps like Monday Night Tuesday. This is all, I want people to go on a second date, a third date, get into a healthy relationship. But usually by the time somebody has met 2 or 3 different people down the road from me, then they're like, Jill, you don't even have to tell me about them. I trust you. You get it.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to get them into a relationship, because that whole list of things softens up a bit, because then they realize she gets it. She knows what's best for me.
So when you set someone up, you do it one at a time, or do you say like, hey, here's 3 girls, I want you... One at a time. One at a time.
And the matches are curated, so it's not going to, so I'm going to call you up and say, Ramiro, I have, this great match for you.
Yeah.
Her name is X, Y, and,
What'd she look like? Is that the first question?
Gorgeous, she's got long brown hair, and she's just beautiful.
All right, perfect.
And so I'm going to, but I'm going to tell you what she looks like, what she does, her hobbies, her interests. I'm going to give you things, to talk about on the date that, maybe you guys have kids the same age, or maybe you guys went to the same school, college, or maybe you both have, traveled to Thailand recently, whatever it is, so that you have things to talk about. And I want to make sure that, because what happens a lot of times too with people in dating is that they can be really smart, successful in their, professional life and everything else, and they got everything going on for themselves. But when it comes to this area of their life, I don't care who they are.
Yeah.
They throw what I call grenades into the date. And so they'll start saying, innocent questions like, so how long you been single? And then you're like, oh, for about 2 years. You're like, uh-oh.
Yeah, that's another thing too. People will go like, too long for me. But then if they say, well, I've dated 4 guys in the past year. Oh, so this girl's like she's a homie hopper. No way, So you just look for things not to like as opposed to things to like.
And these questions that people are asking each other, they think they're innocent, but there's no right answer.
Right.
Really, at the end of the day. So you've been single for 2 years. That's too long. What happened to you? Oh, you just got out of a relationship. Oh, you're too new. Oh, like whatever it is. So I tell people, don't talk about past relationships. Nobody cares. You really don't care what happened in her past relationship. She doesn't, down the road you might want to know things that could be pertinent in your, moving forward in a relationship. But at this point, all you want to know is that this person is looking for a relationship or looking for the same things out of life, Because if somebody's looking for a relationship and somebody else is looking just to get back out there, there's you're at different places. So
I blame YouTube, because with YouTube, you can get what you want, when you want, wherever you want, as many times as you want it. And people start expecting that out of every aspect of life. So you're dating someone, and I mean, crap, Melissa, who I work with, she does this all the time. I always joke with her. No, she does. I always joke with her. I said, Melissa, your relationships go like this. You meet a guy on Tuesday, text bomb the hell out of each other Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Set up a date for Friday. Go out Friday. Go out Saturday. By Sunday,
they're broken up.
You're broken up because you're kind of like, oh, you burned out like 18 months of a relationship over a weekend. You're kind of like, oh, we have nothing in common, or we have nothing left to, no mystery or something, because you've asked every freaking question there is to the person.
They're soulmates right at the beginning.
Yeah. Oh, Thursday she's going to marry the guy.
The second she pulls out an encore, she's like, never mind.
Yeah. And come Monday, she's like, it didn't work out with him. And I'm like, because you had an entire relationship with him in the course of like 4 days. But I think that's something that's not Melissa exclusive. I think that's just something that a lot of people do.
No, that is so many people. Like, I don't want to say the majority, but yeah. I mean, I have somebody that I was talking to this morning, and they're meeting up this weekend, and they're dating, she's dating him from another state, and he's flying here. Trust me, call me next week. It's done after the weekend.
Yeah.
Jill, what do you what do you do for a vetting process in the sense of like, you know, if you get a new person, and let's just use like a man for example, and you know, you can just kind of sense maybe some like toxic masculinity traits coming just like based off the first interview, and you're trying to see what he's kind of in it for, or even a girl, it can go vice versa, a woman who might be in it for the wrong reasons. It doesn't matter like which one it is, but do you have a vetting process?
Yes.
Or do you, you know, do you try and stay unbiased?
Both. So we have a vetting process, and the fact that that's why I do an interview with everybody. And if I'm interviewing somebody and I'm not getting a good vibe on them, that's, you know, they're in it for the wrong reason, or I don't feel good about this person and matching this person, I just don't take them as a client. We do a ton of work, and so I tell everybody, you know, it's pretty, I mean, I've been doing this long enough that if somebody's coming to me and they're saying things that just aren't right for who I would want to be working with, then, you know, I just say, you know, I might not be the matchmaker for you, but I can refer you out to somebody else. And there might be somebody else that I can refer them to. But it's just not worth trying to put a square peg in a round hole, because it's also my reputation that I'm fixing them up with somebody. So if somebody's not, you know, in it for the right reasons, then
yeah, they'll be like, Jill sucks, but really it's you suck.
Right. I mean, but on the flip side, to be fair to people in general, like sometimes I can interview somebody and I can think they're the greatest thing in the world, or I can personally, they're not my cup of tea, but that's okay. They don't have to be my cup of tea, because guess what? There's somebody out there for everybody.
Yeah.
But it just we have to figure out what it is, what they're looking for is for the right reasons, and it's something that I can do, because there's things that, you know, I'm matching real people with real people. I say, you know, I'm not out back making these people. They're all real people that I'm matching them with.
Moose is single. Moose, could you imagine going to Jill and after she's done talking to you, she's like, listen, I know you're going to pay me and everything, but I really don't want your money. You're going to have to go somewhere else.
I would imagine, you know what I mean? Because the next question I was going to ask you, you know, what do you think is the main difference between like maybe, I don't know, like 30 years ago dating, that scene? Because, you know, you hear like, I'm 24, so you hear like, you know, people my parents' age or aunts or uncles are like, oh, it's you kids on your phones and yada yada yada. Like, what do you know, when you look back, do you notice that there is a vast difference when you're matchmaking people, or are you at the end of the day, you're like, you know, the world looks different, but people are still people? So
there's a lot of differences in the fact that I think that you know, for the, I hate to say younger generation, but, you know, 20s, 30s, it is even more difficult today, even though we have all of this technology and the world is fast, you know, you got everything at your fingertips. So you think like, oh, okay, I'm ready to have a girlfriend. It should just be at my fingertips, right. Bing, bang, boom. But, you know, people are on their devices 24/7, and they're not socializing, interacting. Even, you know, Starbucks, as an example, you used to, at the very least, you'd be in line at Starbucks, picking up, you know, ordering your coffee, picking up your coffee. So, you know, you might talk to the person in line, or just even smile at somebody walking in the door. And that was just the world that we had lived in, and it kept evolving. And now it's, I'm using Starbucks as an example, or any coffee shop for that matter. Now you have the app, so you're going to order the coffee on your app, and you're going to walk in on your phone, not even notice one person. Grab your coffee, walk back out.
Be mad if your coffee's not there when you walk in. Yeah. For some reason, like, they messed up.
Yeah. And right, if it's not, then you have to stay there, and so then you're waiting. I can't believe my coffee's not ready.
Yeah, it's true.
And so that's, so in that respect, it's definitely, I think, a lot more difficult for people to actually engage and meet one another and be sociable. But at the end of the day, people still want the same things. People, for the most part, I would say, actually, people always want to be in relationships. I don't know if, you know, moving forward in life, ask me another 10 years maybe. I do think that everybody wants to be in a relationship. Most people who want to have children want to have children. Most people still want to get married. But it is going to a place that they may not need to get. Marriage may not be the end all, be all goal in your generation per se. But for my clients, usually in that age group, they're coming to me because they do want to get married, they want to have a family, or they're looking for the final piece of the puzzle. And, you know, depending on the age group, if they're coming, they're looking, you know, a lot of people who are in their 40s, 50s and stuff who are divorced, now they're in the situation to navigate, how do I meet somebody? Because, you know, they met their person and they may have not been on the apps, or they may have been on it was just a different app world. That the world keeps moving.
That makes me so upset though. Sorry, my glass head. That just, I don't know what, I feel like that just, like, I don't know. It's tough. Like, when you guys were talking earlier, how, you know, like, the interview process and things like that. Like, you know, it's so bad that we're so glued to, like, a damn screen and not, like, it's literally crazy. Him and I talk about this all the time. Like, you are right. It is tough for, I think, people my generation to find that, because it's like no one knows how to interact with anyone anymore.
Right.
It's like you go out and you smile to somebody, you say hi, and they're looking at you like you have 9 heads.
Right.
And you're just like, what's the problem? And but then you watch movies from like the 80s, or you hear stories and stuff,
and it's all
like, you know, all these things. Then so it must be kind of interesting for you, because you're just all these different people in and out, you know?
Well, it's also interesting too, because think about it, like, you're an outgoing guy, like, you can talk to people, and so you're still going to have your personality. But there's a lot, you know, of people out there right now who do deal, you know, have mental health issues and are not social and have it difficult to be able to smile at somebody, or, you know, have a conversation with somebody, or, you know, let alone be out and just walk up to somebody and talk to somebody. Where even nowadays too, if somebody did walk up and start talking to you, it's almost a little creepy too, because you're like, what's going on? So, you know, it is different in that respect, but it's also navigating the world. So this is the world that we're living in. So we all have to find ways to be successful in that world, whether it be, you know, you're doing the apps, whether your friends are fixing you up, whether you're doing, you know, different things, you know, whether you're hiring a matchmaker and having me be your person to, you know, find that person. So that's why we were talking earlier about the fact that it doesn't matter what happens in the world. I have been doing this for so long, and there's so many different things. I mean, we were talking about COVID and doing it through COVID, and the thing is this, at the end of the day, people want to be in a relationship. So it's about navigating that and finding the best way so that you can find that relationship by yourself. And that's why this whole thing, the passion project of it, is that I have passion. I believe I was put on this earth to bring people together. So, you know, may only be a few hundred people that I've brought together, but I've made my difference in the world.
You know what sucks for you too, Moose, is
As if it wasn't bad enough.
This is what sucks, because when you were talking about like somebody who got with their person before dating apps and stuff like that, and maybe, you know, somebody passed away, divorced, and now they're like, I don't know how to get with somebody. You're an old soul. Moose is a very old soul. He's 24, but he's the type of guy who, if he's talking to a girl and she mentions something, he kind of takes note of that, and maybe like brings her that as a gift, like later on down the road. You let stuff like that marinate, where basically your generation, all they know is online dating. So all they know is bing bang boom 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 boom. They don't like the slow burn. They don't like to like let stuff cook. They're like, put it on high and let's have this done in 30 seconds. Yeah. They want to microwave a relationship.
He thinks I'm going to end up with an older girl.
I keep telling him because he is an old soul. So I said, here's what's going to happen. If you do get in a long-term relationship, you know, soon, it's going to be with an older girl he's 24. I said she'll probably be in her early 30s, and she's gone through guys in their 20s, her age, who were immature, who were just like, oh, I want you because you're really pretty. Oh, wait, she's prettier. See ya. And that's...
Well, they're not as mature is what it is. So,
or what's going to happen is he is going to get with a girl who's similar age. I don't mean like twice your age, by the way. I'm just saying like a few years old. Or you are going to get with a girl who's your age, but it'll be, again, in 5 or 6 years after she's gone through that stage of, this is what I thought I wanted in a guy, but it's not. It's you.
But then you probably have this too. That makes the person feel like, oh, was I not good enough in the beginning? But then I'm good enough 6 years later after being marinated.
Exactly.
So, well, yes. No,
she won't tell you that, though, hopefully.
But you didn't meet her then, so you don't even know. So it doesn't matter. The thing is this, it's all about timing in life, and you have to meet that person at the right time in life. So, yeah, so you're 24. He's right. You probably, I would see you with somebody more, late 20s or, but it's just about, because somebody who's younger than you is definitely going to be, more immature than you, but your person's going to appreciate you for you and the fact that you took note and you did that little. I will tell you, nice guys finish first with me, always. And any guy listening, listen. If you listen and you do that one little thing that your wife, not your wife, your girlfriend, whoever it is, mentioned something. I mean, had to brag on my husband, but he's like so much better than I when he pays attention and does those little things. But those little things, you can't. It's not about money or anything else. It's just about listening and being thoughtful and caring, and don't change that. Be that person, because your person's going to be out there and they're going to love you for that. Yeah. So
there you go. Now she knows you a little bit. So one day she's going to meet a girl and go, you know what? This is the girl from Moose. Yeah.
Well, so what's for you? Let's put the camera on you for a minute. Like, now that you're remarried, give me one note or one thing maybe that's positive now about yourself that you enjoy as the years went on, not even from your former marriage, in life in general, all the girls you dated.
I will say what I said to my wife when we got married. First of all, my wife is 14 years younger than me. Mm-hmm. I was 37. She was 23, which most people hear that and they go, oh, so you just want to go with the 23-year-old. Listen, at the time, I could have gotten 23-year-olds for days. I'm not bragging about it, but I could have.
No,
just for the fact that I'm an idiot on the radio, and but that's not what it was. She also was an old soul, and we met at the gym, and for the first, I don't want to say 6 months, but it was a solid maybe 4 to 5 months. It was just, how you doing? Pleasantries. Mm-hmm. And then from there, we started just getting to know each other a little bit more. And at the time, the stage of relationship, the stage of my life I was in was, I was divorced. I had 3 kids from 2 different women. And I had a job which has literally the worst schedule for somebody who wants to have a social life with their significant other. So I used to literally say to my friends, it's never going to happen. There's no way in hell that you're going to find someone who's going to look past all of those things and still want to hang out with me, because she's going to be like, when are we going to hang out? On Tuesday afternoons? Because I saw my kids every weekend and stuff, and I'm not going to go, oh, you know what? Let me not see my kids so I can hang out with this girl. But we got to know each other very slowly and stuff. And then still to this day, I don't know what it was, but just one day, I remember saying to her, I want you to meet my kids. And that's when I knew that it was going to work. But when we got married, what I said to her was, and this will sum up, because still to this day, there are little things. There's still little things to this day that she'll do or she'll say. And I'm like, oh my God, that's another reason why I love this woman. But when we got married and we did our speeches, I said, you're everything I knew, like everything that I wanted, but I didn't know existed. Like, you just almost like create if I could create like this perfect person, you would like just pulling stuff out of the wall. They'd be this, they'd be this, they'd be this, they'd be this. And she was all those things. And I didn't even know that I wanted all those things until like I was getting it on the regular. And then I was like, wow, okay, that matches up with, we just match up very well. Like we're alike in the ways that, like, we're both extremely disciplined. We're both very focused in those ways. But then she is like, my family's super close. I'm very family oriented, but like my family's close, like, but I'm not the one who initiates it, but she's an initiator with being close with family. So it helps in that situation. Things like that. She's great with her stepkids. Mm-hmm. She knows how to say, sometimes you'll be with somebody, right? And they will, I've said this a million times. I have friends, I said, your relationship is going to ruin your career because they might have a bad day at work or something and go home and complain to their significant other, and the significant other's response is, don't take that shit. Go back there and tell them this. And that's literally the worst advice. It's like sometimes you just got to let them vent and let them get it out so that they don't go back and cause friction at work and stuff. So she just, little things that she would say to me, I would say to her, you always know what to say, but I can tell you're just saying it, not thinking like, what do I need to say in this moment? Those are two different things. Does that make sense? Yeah. Where you're like, I feel like I should say this because it's the right thing to say, but it's not what you really want to say. For her, just naturally what she said matched up with, I don't know, my energy or the way I receive it. It's like love languages. Yeah. Whatever our love language is, they match up very well. Yeah. So
what's going through your mind, Jill, when you hear that?
I think that your therapist has done great work with you.
My therapist makes the easiest money on the planet. Can I just say that? I go in there and for 45 minutes she's like, how are things? And I just go for nonstop talking nonsense, and at the end she's like, all right, give me my money, I'll see you next week.
I'm not wasting a penny of this.
Yeah.
No, but she's doing something, or he's doing something right, because at the end of the day you are paying attention to the nuances that she pays attention to you, and help, and that's really what you said at the beginning of that, was that, just because somebody comes home and vents doesn't mean you tell them to go back. It's that they just need somebody who's going to be there to listen.
Yes.
They don't really always want your quote advice. They just want somebody to be in their court for them to, say, oh, it's okay.
Right. Instead of getting you almost like more riled up with stuff. Yeah. But then there are times that they might be like, hey, you need to advocate for yourself a little more. Like so far she's batting, like 100 in those situations. Yeah. So
exactly. I have a hard time communicating this to my friends, and they always rip me to shreds about it because they're like, what kind of girl do you go for, Moose? And I like to say this, and it comes out really, really wrong, but maybe you could interpret it differently. I like to say, I want a girl where if I'm wrong, because I can talk a lot, if I'm wrong, I want her to have no problem to tell me, Moose, zip it. This is what you're saying is not whatever. Like, here's how it's going. Like, I'm not attracted, I think, so far in life to a significant other that's what's the word? Not docile. What's just
meek.
Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm attracted to that. Like, I've always, the outspoken women, things like that, but they're also very kind. Like, I don't want someone mean to me to shreds, you know what I mean?
You want a straight shooter, though.
Exactly. It's like, because I think it's just more of a respect thing. Like, I respect the honesty. Does that make sense? All my friends are like, oh my God, you're going to date a girl that's going to like mop the floor with you then. And
well, no. You want somebody who, has their own opinion. It's also, too, the way their opinion is conveyed, too, and when it's conveyed also, because you don't want somebody who's going to make you feel like crap, and then you want somebody who's going to, but say to you, hey, I don't agree with this. They're not just going to agree, because somebody's always agreeing with you, then something's missing there too. But you need somebody who's an independent person, who can kind of give it back, but take it as well, so that, but not too domineering also.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. It's like, I like the whole idea, and you and him and his wife, it's like when I've known him for a minute now, but when I saw them interact for the first time, I was like, that's what it is. He has a very demanding life. She has a very demanding life as well. But it's like,
works.
When they're home and just seeing them together, it works. You know what I mean? It's like they both know when to, it's family time, it's work time, it's this, and they're good, because sometimes that can be missing.
Well, and that's really important, because sometimes people will say, listen, I can't meet somebody because I work this crazy schedule, or they have to be willing to do this for me in my schedule. Well, yes and no. They have to realize that your schedule is not the norm schedule, but if somebody's important to you, guess what? There is time to make anything work. And that's what it's about, finding that time that will work for the both of you, so that you're both giving something to the relationship to complete yourself at that point.
Were you like a psych major in college?
I wasn't, but I joked that I should get an honorary PhD from Harvard, because I've been doing this so
Where did you go to college?
UMass Amherst.
Okay, and what did you major in?
Hospitality.
Okay.
Business major.
So I like that, then honorary. You should get honestly,
honestly. I mean, I've done.
It really is. It's
you
so
know,
much. It's so
relationship
psychological.
coaching certifications and things of that nature. So, but at the end of the day, it's
Life experience.
Life experience, and it's just understanding people and what makes people tick and what's going to work for some people. Just because everything on paper looks great doesn't mean it is. And so, you know, you have to figure out what things are going to be most important. And listen, you are still young, not that, you know, and you have an old soul, but I tell everybody, I don't even care how old somebody is, never settle for less. This is the most important area of your life. It really is. Listen, we all work hard so we can go to college, you know, we work hard so then we graduate so we can get a good job, so we can do whatever it is that we have passion for, or that's, you know, what we were made to do. But then we all take for granted this area of our life that it's just going to happen. It doesn't just happen. And so then a lot of times people just want to put that, you know, the wrong thing with the wrong person. And you don't want to hurry to get divorced. You want to hurry to get into a healthy relationship. And, you know, it's okay if it doesn't work out. That's part of life because it brings you to that right person. So that's the beauty of it.
Are you spiritual?
I am.
So do you believe kind of in things like that, like things are meant to be? And
I do. I'm not like I joke that I'm like a good witch, right? Others may disagree, but I do believe, first of all, that everything does happen for a reason. And I think if you can it's very hard to do, but take time to pay attention and realize a lot of your answers are there. It's just that we're all moving too fast to pay attention to the little things that are happening. And, you know, so many times I always joke in the office, like I can literally I can't pick the numbers for the lottery or anything like that, or else I would have already. But we have files of every single person for forever and a day. And even though everything's in the computer, we have paper files. And I can touch a file and bring that person to life. Like if I just grab somebody, all of a sudden, I'm like, oh my God, I grabbed this person, they're going to call me now. Good, bad, and different. I don't get to pick and choose who I pull the file on or anything. But then what ends up happening is that it's all for a reason. And all of a sudden I pull this person, and then I'm like, oh my God, because now these people should be together. Like it's the craziest thing. Yeah. But you have to have that intuition and kind of take a step back. But you seem like you're spiritual, so I think,
Well, it's funny. I'm like, I didn't realize it until a little later. I was like, oh, that's
a lot of pride in it. And I mean, I kind of eat, breathe, sleep, do it because you can't help it. Because, as I said, whether I'm behind my desk working or anything, or I'm just out and I'm talking to people, that what ends up happening is that I start thinking of somebody else or anything. And it's funny because I'm digressing, but this weekend I don't normally do this, let me just be clear, but this is where the passion comes from. I had this client that I just loved. And I never, ever, ever tell anybody that, you know, I'm going to get you married. Because, I mean, like, that's
a lot of
and who the hell knows, you know? So, anyways, but I met this girl and I met her dad, and there was some sort of connection that we had. And I just said, you know, I'm going to do everything I can to find your daughter, you know, her person.
Yeah.
She came with her dad?
Well, no, what happened was, I'll back it up. She didn't come with her dad. A lot of times some parents will call and inquire for their children, and they might, you know, get them a membership or something, you know. And so he had called, it was during COVID, as a matter of fact. Yeah. And I clicked with this guy and her dad, and anyways, I really liked him, and he had been sick at the time. He's okay now, let me just say that. But I was like, there would be nothing more that I would like than to find your daughter, her husband, and have you be healthy and walk her down the aisle. I mean, who wouldn't want that anyways, course, right? Yeah. But so then over time, listen, I'm good, but it's not wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. It takes time to find that right person, for them to get into a relationship, then get engaged, and get, like, we're talking, this is now a couple of years, right? So anyways, she had worked with me for a time, and I found her wonderful people, but it wasn't the one. And so then we signed her on again to continue on. Anyways, I found her person. But during that time, people always ask me, they're like, do you go to the weddings? You must get invited to weddings. And I used to, and then I stopped going to weddings. I made it a rule that I didn't want to go to weddings because I got sat at that misfit table,
Yeah, yeah. And you were literally the reason for the wedding.
Right, but people didn't want me to, anyway, so I gave up on the whole wedding thing for a long time. But they had asked me, have you officiated a wedding? And I was like, you know what? I haven't. Oh, I must do this. I must officiate a wedding. Like somebody said something like I'm kind of crazy like that. So I was like, and I wasn't going to like start advertising. I want to officiate anybody's wedding, but I just put it out there to the universe. I said, listen, I went online, I got ordained so that in the rare, occasion that I would be needed to officiate, I could do it. So I just started telling people, not like a lot, but anyway, so last summer I officiated my first wedding and I was super proud and excited, and that was really an honor and everything. So, but I had told this girl, I had said to her this client of mine, that if you get married, I'm going to be in the front row at your wedding because I'm going to make this happen. And then she's like, no, you're going to officiate it. Fast forward, they are getting married this weekend and I am officiating their wedding.
Nice.
And it's like one of my most proudest moments, only because I felt instinctually I was going to find her person. And I never, ever say to somebody, I'm going to find you I'm going to do everything in my power too, and I'm going to try my very hardest. And usually I do find the person, but you can't. And now it's all come full circle. And so it was all about the whole thing, that energy that I felt when I was talking to them, that there was something inside me that's like, I'm going to find the person for you. So
that's crazy. If you think about it, Moose, I don't want to freak you out, but whenever you start dating someone, it's so weird to think like, wow, this is the person I'm probably going to spend the rest of my life with, or it's going to crash and burn.
I mean, hey, but you don't know.
You're going to make a fantastic husband someday.
Thank you.
So just don't rush it. You get time,
Thank you. That was so nice of you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
No, I can tell. Trust me.
Thank you.
So how many, do you know how many people you've ended up marrying? Think about that difference that a lot of people want to make a difference in people's lives, but you are literally you're connecting two people. Let's say they go on to get married, then let's say they go on to have kids. Think about that effect that you have on people's lives.
So I tell people, I don't keep track of how many people get, because a lot of people get together and they're not looking, they might be they might be not looking to get married again. They've been married before and things of that nature. I'm just happy that they get into a healthy relationship. Literally hundreds upon hundreds.
Wow.
And now I have had people, good, bad, and different. I tell my joke is, I'm like, so I've gotten people into relationships. I've gotten people to have babies, grandbabies. Some divorces, and now they're back again. Sometimes they're a widow and they're back. Sometimes they're buying for their children. It just, it's one of these things that, most people never forget that you've done this, that you set them up, and they're grateful. And then other people, they forget about you and don't care about you. They move on.
Yeah. But it's crazy because, when you talk about like a passion, that is that's not going to work and being like, oh, I'm going to drill some holes in some doors. It's like you're going out there every day and you're like, I'm trying to connect.
Well,
trying to create something, I guess.
I've always explained it that, I think probably the greatest job in this world would be to cure cancer. And that's not in my wheelhouse to do. However, I'll leave that to the people who have those special talents and can stand blood or whatever it takes to cure cancer. But the most important thing everybody needs in their life is love. Mm-hmm. And so my job is really just as important as somebody curing cancer, because if you're living and you don't have love, then it's little.
Yeah.
I hope everybody has love in their life.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of the people who don't believe that, I think, are the ones who've almost like they've been in just bad relationship after bad relationship, and they're like, I think I'm just meant to be single for the rest of my life.
Down their person.
Yeah. And there's something about you're married. There's something about having a good day and going home and having somebody celebrate with you, or having a bad day and going home and having someone kind of be there to bring you up or to distract you or whatever. If you're in a good relationship, I mean, if you're in a bad relationship, you had a shitty day, then you go home, and you're like, great, now I got to deal with this asshole. But I mean, you know, when it works out, that's
the hope.
That's the recipe.
Yeah, you just hope that, and you hope if somebody's going home to a shitty relationship that they do something to make the relationship better. I'm not saying leave them tomorrow and go find somebody else. I'm saying try to make it work, and if you can't make it work, then move on at that point. But good relationships are work, and you have to put in the time, the effort, and not take it for granted, because
it's a commitment.
It's something that can be saved, then do everything you can to save it before throwing in the towel. But if it's not going to work out in the end, life is short. You should be able to find yourself, love yourself, and then hopefully find somebody to help complement one another.
Well, that's your story.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
What do you look for when you hire like other matchmakers?
I look for people who kind of, I hate to use the expression, but get it and realize that, first of all, they have to be people that, right. But they have to have passion towards relationships and be able to take themselves out of the equation a bit too, because a lot of times everybody's like, I'll interview people and they're like, I love love. Well, yeah, I love love too, right? Yeah. But, there's more to this. You have to have, an intuition to, a lot of times, as you said, people who do have psychology backgrounds do very well in this field. Yeah. And had I known I was going to go in this field, I probably would have had a psychology background, but I just kind of created my own psychology background along the way of it. People who have that ability, there's people like, you guys both are this way, but there's certain people that you meet that people just want to talk to, that people want to open up to.
Right,
and it's that energy that they have about them. And it's not even saying spiritual energy, I'm just saying it's always been in my life that I would meet people wherever I was, and they would just start talking to me and telling me things that they would never tell their best friend.
You're like my wife. She'll do like a lunch or something like that with somebody. She's a lawyer, a real estate lawyer, which you normally have that like, oh God, bitch. Like that's what you think. But like she'll come home. She's like, I met with somebody today, and she'll start telling me all this personal stuff about the person's life. And I said, at what point did the conversation go from, do you want to keep the fridge, to like them telling you? And she goes, I just have that face. People just want to tell me stuff.
That's what I look for in somebody to be a matchmaker. It's so funny because my husband's saying the same thing. He'll be like, so how did you go from just going out, to, I don't know, charity event? The other night we were at the Best of Boston charity event, and I will literally have people who will want to show me their fake boobs or something. Or just like, it's something so outlandish. He's like, how did you get from going to, get a piece of sushi to... And I'm like, I don't know. It's just we sat talking and it goes down. We were talking about dresses and before you know it, I don't know, things go sideways. But it's in a good respect. It's not a bad way. Like... it's just that there's certain people that they'll trust you, and you have to be able to take what somebody's saying too and realize that they're talking to you about something so personal. A funny thing is that I always say, people, hairdressers, you'll say your hairdresser or anything, mm-hmm. or, and so you have to be able to be open to what people want to tell you, and non-judgmental. Right. That's really what it is. I mean, I'm judgmental a little bit.
Time your judgment. Pick and choose. Yeah. Do you have mostly female or male matchmakers? I bet you it's female. I was gonna say. I feel like guys are terrible matchmakers.
Yeah.
Men can be good matchmakers, but in general, women want to talk to women and men want to talk to women.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point. I never thought of
that. So that's what, it's not to say, listen, there are some outstanding male matchmakers that I know, and so don't misunderstand, but as a general rule of thumb, it's, I would have a man, I've had male matchmakers work with us in the past and everything, so, but in general, it turns out to be women.
Very nice. All right, so is there anything you wish I asked you that I didn't? Moose is a good dude. He really is. he's displaced as far as being this age in this day and time.
I'm Jill Vandor, executive matchmaker. You can call us at 617-DATE-NOW, 617-254-3000. Check us out on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, any social platform. You will find us. And if you want to change your life for the better, then reach out to me now.
Good stuff. Thank you, Jill.